According to Wikipedia, there are over 53 million Wikipedia pages out there. Some of these pages have been translated into 300 different languages. With all that being said, there are a number of pages that are quite interesting, to say the least. From a page all about toilet paper to another about how to give a proper high five. Let's talk about these and more only in today's video. Top 10 weirdest Wikipedia pages to ever exist. And make sure you guys stick around to the end of today's video because I will be shouting out the funniest comments that we have ever received. So, stick around, you don't want to miss it. Starting off this countdown, we have the high five. There is a page out there all about high fives, the origin of them, how to perform a successful high five, and it also talks about different variations of high fives. My favorite part of this page is the variation section, where it talks about, different versions of how to give high fives. You got the left hanging high five, when you put your hand out and the other person doesn't, give you a high five and you go, come on dude, don't leave me hanging. Then you have the self high five, when you give yourself high five, or as they say, the action consists of raising one hand, generally the right hand, and tagging it with the other. That's what it says. Or the grab and hold high five, where you high five someone and it turns into a hand hold and then the person shakes your hand. The variation can be used to indicate friendship and or personal swagger. I swear, that's what it actually said, I'm not making this up. Then you have the air high five where you mimic the gesture and you don't touch. And lastly, you have the high five tease, where you go to the top, to the side, down low, too slow, and you jerk your hand away. They even have a diagram on how to do this. And lastly, they list all the different ways that you can call a high five. You got give me five, or up high, or slap hands. It's a very funny page to say the least, and I actually enjoyed reading it. Coming in at number 9, we have the toast sandwich, and if you guys are liking this video so far and want to see more like it, then make sure to smash that thumbs up button. So what is a toast sandwich, you may ask? Well, according to its Wikipedia page, it's a sandwich made up of 2 slices of bread, and the filling in between is another slice of bread. That piece though may be heavily buttered according to the page. The page then goes on to list recipes, like a recipe from 1861 that suggests you add salt and pepper on the toast. No thank you, okay, that does not sound appetizing to me. You got butter, salt, and pepper on a piece of bread? That just sounds dry and flavorless. Like I can already feel it clump into the back of my throat. Fun fact, in 2011 the sandwich was recreated by the Royal Society of Chemistry, and they tried to revive this forgotten dish. They named it the country's most economical lunch. Should have been the country's most bland lunch, but In our 8th spot we have Paris syndrome. Be careful if you ever have plans to travel to Paris. You might develop something called Paris syndrome. This is the name given to a phenomenon studied by psychologists. It happens when tourists visit Paris and go into extreme shock when they realize the city isn't as good as they imagined. Isn't that crazy? Like it sounds made up, but it's not. Apparently it is most common with Japanese tourists. Out of all the travelers hospitalized each year, 3 to 5% are Japanese and suffer from this syndrome. Symptoms might include dizziness, sweating, hallucinations, and feelings of paranoia. Some other symptoms can be depersonalization, derealization, and manic episodes. This syndrome first came to life in the 1980s, and the first bad case was in 1998, where Paris had a patient that suffered from manic depression. In our 7th spot, we have toilet paper orientation. Apparently, this is a thing that people argue about. But when you change the toilet paper roll, if you even change the toilet paper roll, some people just leave it there and then I'm not even gonna go into that. But do you put the roll on so that the toilet paper piece is hanging over the roll, so in front of it, or under the roll, which is behind it? Let me know in the comments below. Apparently, people get heated on which is the correct way. For me, as long as there's enough toilet paper for me to do my business, I'm happy. But anyways, there's a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to this. In fact, it lists the reasonings behind this argument. For example, if you place the roll over, then this reduces the risk of accidentally brushing the wall with your knuckle and transferring germs. I mean, if you're wiping and you're getting stuff on your knuckles, you're doing it wrong. over also apparently is easier to grab and is apparently the intended direction of viewing, because that's where you can see the toilet paper's pattern. Then you have the under section of the page that talks about how under is better because it looks tidier and the loose end is hidden from view. It also reduces the risk of a little kid or like a cat grabbing it and unrolling the whole thing. So there you go. What team are you on? Team under or team over? Let me know in the comments below. In our sixth spot we have Buffalo, 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 Buffalo. I'm not even kidding. That is the title of this page. This page just highlights how messed up the English language really is. Basically, this is a real and accurate sentence. You just need to put different emphasis on the different buffaloes. For this sentence, they are referring to the city, buffalo, and then the animal buffalo, and then the verb buffalo, meaning to like outwit or baffle. Now I have tried to wrap my head around it, but it still confuses me. But basically, it's talking about Buffalo the city, their animals, the buffalo, that are buffling, is that even a word? I don't know, but they're bullying the buffalo from their city Buffalo. Does that even make sense? I don't know. They should have just wrote it like this. The buffalo from Buffalo, who are buffaloed by buffalo from Buffalo, Buffalo, other buffalo from Buffalo. It's a tongue twister, it's confusing, let's move on. We're now at our fifth and halfway mark with the list of lists of lists. And it's exactly what it sounds. It's a Wikipedia page of lists that contain other lists. Basically, it's an endless web of lists. You could spend hours, days, weeks, months reading all these lists. They have like everything you could imagine and more on this page. From sports to mythology to historical events, they have it all. And apparently they continue to add new lists, so it's constantly growing. Coming in at number 4, we have animals awarded with human credentials. This one has to be my favorite list of all time, okay? Whoever invented this list deserves an award themselves. Basically, it's a page that, and I quote, lists animals with fraudulent diplomas, including non-human animals who have been submitted as applicants to suspected diploma mills and have gotten a diploma. The page then goes on to talk about cats and dogs and other animals that have gotten diplomas. Like Oreo, a tuxedo cat, and of course they named it Oreo because I swear all tuxedo cats are named Oreo. Anyways, Oreo got a diploma from Jefferson High School online in 2009. Or George, a cat that got registered as a hypnotherapist after his owner created a fake certificate for him. Or even Chester the pug from Vermont that got an MBA from Rochville University. In order to get this though, his owner submitted an application and $500 American to get a diploma and transcripts and a certificate of distinction in finance and a certificate of membership in the student council. It's a lot of money for something that that dog won't be able to use. In our third spot we have unusually shaped vegetables. This Wikipedia page is dedicated to vegetables who have grown into odd shapes, most of them being pretty phallic, like they look like booties or other private parts. Some of the vegetables mentioned on this page is a carrot that grew wrapped around another carrot, or a carrot that is in the shape of a foot, or an eggplant that grew its own eggplant, if you know what I'm saying. Coming in at number 2 we have death by coconuts. Apparently coconuts are very deadly and a number of people have lost their lives to them. And there's a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to this. According to the page, more people die from falling coconuts per year than they do from shark attacks. Per year there are about 5 shark-related deaths versus 150 coconut-related deaths. That seems very hard to believe. In fact, in 2002 in Queensland, Australia, they wanted to remove coconut trees from the beaches because of how many people were dying from them. Some deaths mentioned on the page are the 4 people that died on an island of Sri Lanka in 1833 from falling coconuts. Or the 1943 death of a US Marine who was killed in his sleep after a coconut fell on his head. So we better watch out for coconuts, man. They're just one killer fruit. Are they a fruit? They must be a fruit. Yeah. And in our number 1 spot today we have the lawsuits against God. Apparently you could file a lawsuit against God, and a number of people have done it, and this Wikipedia page talks all about it. Like the lawsuit filed by a woman named Betty Penrose. In 1970, she filed a lawsuit blaming God for his negligence, since a lightning bolt struck her house. She then sought after $100,000 in damages for God not protecting her from this. And guess what? When God failed to turn up in court, she won the case by default. Like what? I didn't even know that was a thing. Then in 2005, a Romanian prisoner who goes by the name Pavel M. filed a lawsuit against a church and God, claiming that they failed to keep him from the devil. He argued that his baptism was a binding contract, and the crimes he committed were at the hands of the devil. But this case was dismissed because God wasn't in court to testify. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. Let me know which one of these pages you thought was the weirdest. And now, it's the moment you all have been waiting for. I'm gonna be shouting out the funniest comments that we have received. So, Charlie Stein commented, "I love exploring forbidden holes." Okay, Charlie. We know, I just keep going. He's not talking about caves or, no, he's not. The next person commented, "This girl put a lot of pauses in this video. Kinda disturbing. Thumbs down." You mean when I have to stop to breathe? Like what's going on? Like I don't even know what pauses I took. Like for pictures to come up? I don't know what he's saying. Then this next person commented, "Actually, Lindsay, that lake is my home. I'm usually down there just swimming around watching Most Amazing Top 10 and wouldn't like to be disturbed by pesky human folk." Good to know, good to know. So if you see a random lake in the middle of the woods, it's this dude's home, okay? Maybe he's the Loch Ness Monster. Maybe that's it. He's the Loch Ness Monster. This next person said, "Lindsay, how to look beautiful." How to look beautiful. I don't know. Beautiful. Alright guys, that's all the comments I'm reacting to for this video. Make sure to comment something down below. Maybe you'll be featured in my next video. With that being said, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to Most Amazing Top 10 for more amazing videos. I've been your host, Lindsay Ivan, and I'll see you when I see ya.